Hey, welcome back everybody. Arizona Unplugged. This video, we're going to discuss one of the most important items you're going to need for your off-grid cabin. Now here in northern Arizona, when I tell people I'm off-grid homesteading in northern Arizona, the first thing they say is, "Oh my God, it's so hot there." They equate Arizona, all of Arizona, as desert, like Phoenix. That is not true, guys. We are over 6,000 feet in elevation. We live in the middle of a forest. We get snow every year. And it's cold. It's cold outside right now. It's probably about 45 degrees or so. We have been dipping below freezing every night for the last week or so. As a matter of fact, today's project here on the homestead is winterizing water pipes. So we went yesterday up to Flagstaff. Bought a bunch of thermocell, which is foam. It looks like a pool noodle for your kids swimming in the swimming pool. And we also bought insulation and some tape, and we're going to get on that today, the wife and I. But before we do that, before we actually have breakfast, I wanted to make this short video about the number one item you're going to need if you live in a climate that is like this or similar to this, and most states have climate like this. Unless you're down in San Diego or South Texas or South Florida, there's areas in pretty much every state that get cold in the winter, and we happen to be in one of them. So the number one item, this guy, the wood stove. If you can hear, there is a blower on it. It actually has a baffle in the back, a little chamber that gets hot, and it pushes the wind this way. This thing keeps this whole cabin warm. We also have another wood stove almost identical to this over at our wood shop, the old hay barn that's been converted into my shop. Well, that's actually still a storage unit for all our stuff. But this is it. You have to have a wood stove, guys, and I'll prefer this over a fireplace any day. The heat coming off of this, I mean, it's tough just sitting right here, guys, but the whole cabin, upstairs, downstairs, everything, it all stays warm all night. As a matter of fact, last week we had this thing raging. I had to open up doors and windows in the back of the cabin here just to cool it off. It was too hot. These things are super efficient. You close the dampener and it really gives you a low, mellow, hot flame for a long, long time. We have our firewood right here just off camera for inside, so we don't have to go in and out every time we want to put wood in the stove. It's great. Along with heating your home and the ambiance, as you can tell, it's really nice to sit in here at night, have a glass of wine with the wife, watch a movie, whatever. Along with all that, it has more practical uses. As you can see, I got a teapot up there, and I've got my coffee cup. And I'll take this down before it starts boiling. So what we've been doing lately is to conserve power, electricity, and to conserve propane gas for our stove. We actually cook or prepare our coffee in a normal coffee pot like everybody does every morning, push the power and it turns on. Once the coffee's done, we take it and we put it in this teapot and we set it on the wood stove. That keeps it hot, so I'm not wasting electricity, especially because we always get up before the sun comes up. And we don't want to use a high voltage and wattage appliance like a coffee pot, which is one of the worst drainers of power that you can have. We don't have to use a microwave to heat up a cup of coffee. We just cook it in the coffee pot as normal, turn it off so you don't constantly have the hot plate going, and do this. We just set it on the stove. It keeps it piping hot, guys, like near boiling, like scalding. So you got to be careful when you go to drink it. It's actually hotter than what the coffee machine does. So to save power, to save gas, we don't have to make coffee on the stove. We don't have to microwave our coffee cup to get it hot again. As you can tell, it's starting to do that whistle thing. But just another thing, you can also cook on these, most of them. On this one, when we first put it in, I had some workers here and they started cooking tamales on top of this. The top of this, guys, gets at least 600 degrees. It is smoking hot. Make sure you're safe with these. Just because you got an enclosed metal box doesn't mean you're 100% safe from fire or burning something. Always put a heat shield in the back. This is an old piece of metal roofing. When we replaced the roof on this old cabin, we used this, and this is a scrap piece left over. I just cut it to fit, put it against the wall on spacers so it's not actually touching the wall itself. Because that back wall will get hot even with the blower going. So you have to be careful. As you can see, I have wood paneling inside, and you know, wood's flammable. You gotta be really careful. By the way, I think this is the first video I've ever done inside the cabin. There you go. There's still little minor things to do in here, but for the most part, we're done. We've got more pressing issues, guys. We have to get these water lines insulated. If you watched my last video, you would have saw the water power room where I insulated the pump and the filters and got all that done. Now we're going outside. I need to get underneath the shop and do some more insulating under there and here at the cabin as well. It's just never-ending projects. If you're planning on living off-grid and retiring and not have to do anything but drink coffee and watch movies, you're probably diluting yourself. It is nothing but constant work all the time, but it is pretty enjoyable. The work that we're doing here is definitely a lot more fun than, you know, punching a clock. So I'm going to get on to breakfast, guys. I just wanted to show you one of our #1 must-haves. If you're living off-grid in a cold climate like us, you gotta have a good wood burning stove. Spend the money. They're not as expensive as a lot of people think. I believe this one cost me like about $1,400, something like that. Brand new. I bought it from Ace Hardware. That's where I buy all of them from. They seem to have a really good selection, good relationships with a lot of manufacturing. This one's made in America. But go to acehardware.com, I guess it would be. Type in wood stoves and a bunch of them pop up. Pick the one you want. I always, typically when you're shopping for a wood stove, it'll tell you the square footage that it's capable of heating up to. I always go above and beyond. This cabin is only like 1,600 square feet, probably not even that. But this is a 2,400 square foot heat source. So it's always better to go over than it is under. You don't want to be shivering in the back room, that's for sure. We do have ceiling fans here. So as you know, heat rises. We have very tall ceilings here. So when we really want to push this warm air around, we'll turn those fans on and it pushes this heat, dissipates this heat everywhere. This is great dry heat, guys. You could also, I would recommend, if you don't like dry heat, if you want it a little bit humid, which is also good for the wood paneling here, by the way, put a good tea kettle on the stove full of water. It'll put humidity in the air, which gives you a nice, comfortable, little bit more humid heat. So a lot of different options these things have, but it's a must-have. It's a must-have. If you think you're going to heat your home in the winter in a cold climate on propane, you're going to spend a lot of money. And as you know, if you watch these videos, we're surrounded by forest here. We have unlimited firewood here, guys. So we're going to use it. There are other options. They do have stoves like this that are actually meant for cooking. They'll have plates on top that are removable and different baffles inside, so you can kind of help control the heat depending on what side of the stove you're cooking on. This really isn't one, even though you can cook on it, and we have cooked on it. It's not really meant for that. But I mean, I guess technically we're cooking coffee. But this is just a way for us to save power, save resources, right? I don't want to drain our batteries first thing in the morning before the sun comes up, and I definitely don't want to have to use propane to do this. Propane out here is about $22 for a 15-pound tank. And in the wintertime, of course, you're going to go through more. So that's the end of the video, guys. If you like this type of content, please consider subscribing. If you're new here, my name is Vaughn. I'm 50 years old. We are almost 3 months full-time off-grid on this property that we've owned for about 6 years. We rehabbed the old hay barn and we rehabbed the old cabin here, made it more livable, got the rats out. By the way, if you have mice at your homestead, just get cats. Easy peasy. They'll do the job. So we lived out here in northern Arizona at over 6,000 feet in elevation. We get freezing temperatures in the winter and pretty warm temperatures in the summer. But we're totally off-grid. All our water, even the water in the coffee, is rainwater. and all our power comes from solar. So there you go, and this is where our heat comes from. So if this kind of content interests you guys, please consider subscribing, and we'll see you on the next one. Prep and Thrive.